to the bottom of it with your host, Joshua Moriarty.
G'day, how's it going everybody? Thanks for tuning back into The Bottom of It with me, your host Joshua Moriarty. Good to have you back. Always a pleasure to have you here with me, whoever you may be. Now what's news in my world? Well, all the colours just finished up February residency in Sydney. Got my new Joshua Moriarty single, Hold Me Closer. It's out doing its thing. Music and life is breezing by, cannot complain. Now today's episode is with underground music icon Shags Chamberlain. Now he's a man who's popped his fingers in a whole bunch of different musical pies and projects over the years. He's worked with Ariel Pink playing in his band and helping him out. He's produced for LA band Drug Dealer and is very much a part of that project. He's turned up in a video for Wise Blood. He's played the lead bass and been the synth guru for plenty of excellent bands and artists over the years. He and Kieran J. Callanan formed a band just so they could go on tour in Japan. I like that story. He tells that one a little later in the podcast. Shags has fastidiously taught himself to be a mix and mastering engineer. He's an avid record collector, basically an all-round music obsessive, I guess would be one way to put it. He's got the right juju because people just love working with him. He's always busy on some kind of project and never working on anything boring or in the mainstream. It's always something very cool. I like it. I think the day we recorded the podcast, he was taking off afterwards to go help Mac DeMarco with his new record. It's the kind of go-to guy Shags is. So yes, we recorded this episode together in LA just recently while I was over there. We talk about Shags' brand new record label, Baby Race, and all their upcoming releases. I'll talk more about that at the end of the podcast with a few recommendations of things to check out. We talk about bass playing and retro revisionism. We talk about his record collection, the end of the planet, all the usual topics here at the bottom of it. Anyway, that's enough from me. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Shags Chamberlain. Enjoy.
How many of these podcasts have you done?
This will be number 37? 36 maybe? It's enough. I feel like when I started it, maybe 2.5 years ago, not every single person had a podcast. Not to say that I was completely ahead of the curve.
Where do you put?
I sort of put it on the
front bit.
That little bit there, yeah. As long as you're comfy. But now everybody's got a podcast. It's kind of like starting a band.
Well, it's cool if you have some good things to talk about. Why not get it down? I think
so.
Get it down.
Usually
We're about to find out, aren't we?
We're going to see. I feel like when Sophie introduced me to the Ema Sumac thing, that was kind of like the beginning of the start of a slow obsession with this kind of Tropicana and Exotica.
That's great.
Because there was one record she recommended.
Probably voice of, how to pronounce it, Extabay.
I'll go with that one. I can't remember.
I just call it Extabay because it's Xtbay.
Yeah.
But that's incredible, that one.
Okay. I think I had maybe it
was Mambo.
Dare I say a greatest hits? I don't think so, though.
Nah, I've never seen one.
Nah.
Was it a record or
no, it was
download?
I pinched it off the internet.
Oh, maybe then.
I'm not sure. But just that sound of all of the people in the room doing everything together.
Yep.
That's become a little bit lost now. Is it just budget? Yeah. Is that the main thing? No one can afford to get everyone together? Is it because we're in LA and now everyone wants to be paid for everything?
No one can afford the time. I don't know. Well, no, people still do that, I think.
You need to have...
Maybe it's just moved into a different area, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Have you done a record like that recently? Or is it more just...
Well, I guess so. I just finished the new Drug Dealer record.
Cool.
And the takes,
like that guy.
except for one song, were band takes.
And did you put the band together, or it was friends of his or yours?
No, it's a little crew that, I mean, it's kind of the crew, and it's just been, in terms of the band, it's been getting pieced together over the last couple of years. Because that first Drug Dealer album came out, and there wasn't a band. The album
That wasn't too long ago.
2016.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've heard that one. That
like
one's really cool.
April. And so we never did shows. It was just Michael's songs. You know, he'd recorded them here and there on his laptop for like the 3 years leading up to it, and then he brought it to me to mix. And then, you know, we finished it. It kind of just existed with a couple of videos for...
Was it getting much traction? Were people...
Yeah. I mean, people really liked that record. And I would get hit up all the time about it for mix jobs because people liked the mix and liked the sound of it. But we would do a sporadic show every now and again over the course of like those 2 years. But then a band started forming, getting together.
Is that guy Michael Long still playing guitar in that band, or is he long gone?
No, Michael Long, he's there.
He's there.
He's right in there.
I like Michael.
Yeah, he's one of my best buddies.
Okay. I haven't seen him for a while.
He's around, he's skating.
Yeah.
He's been in his room working on his skills.
He did one of these Christmas benefit shows that we did with Moriarty here.
He told me.
Yeah.
He told me, and who was he hanging with there? Oh, he was hanging with... So Darnie Harrison and his mum was there, so he was...
Yep.
He was enjoying that.
I think he definitely was.
And maybe Rodney Mullen was at it as well, or something.
That sounds definitely right.
So he was just in the fan zone big time.
It's hard not to get in the fan zone with those people a little bit. I mean, I've hung out with Danny a wee bit now, so the fan thing's died down. But I was having lunch with him and his mum the other day, and just the stories are so good.
I think Mikey Long was really hitting it off with his mum.
She's lovely.
Yeah.
Olivia. I like her a lot.
So the band is, I mean, it's been solid for, I guess, now it's been solid for like a year-ish.
You're playing in the band as well?
Yeah.
What are you playing?
Live bass.
Did that just happen? Because I was reading an interview with you earlier with Ariel Pink or something, or maybe it was with someone else, I can't remember, but you were going to play synth and keyboards, and then they auditioned 3 bass players, and then eventually you're like, oh,
that's gone way back to 2006.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
But had you been a bass player? Or
a little bit. I guess I was probably more renowned as a bass player. Actually, you know what? I don't know. I've kind of just been like a bass and synth guy for the whole time I've been playing music. I taught myself guitar to start with, but I never really played guitar in a band.
I don't feel like people start on the bass, do they? They sort of start on the guitar and then they take that step later.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't, because it's maybe when you're a
people
teenager.
People need basses more.
I think so.
No one wants to play it.
I bloody love playing it.
Oh man, the physicality of it.
The whole thing feels so good.
It's just a big... I just like the struggle. And I have like a particularly difficult bass to play.
And you keep playing that one all the time?
Oh yeah. I like, big fat strings, bad high action, thick neck. Someone else gets on and they're like, what the hell's going on here? I can't even play that. To hell with short scales, I say.
Well, my transition in, because I was the guitar player in my band All the Colours, and then our bass player left, and the other guitar player was definitely not going to go to bass, so it was down to me. And so first I started on the Hofner, and it was super tiny, and I felt like I could blitz around it, but after a while I just got annoyed and wanted to play a grown-up's bass.
And what was the grown-up's bass?
I had a P bass, I think.
Right. What do you think of P basses? I've never been a P bass guy myself.
There's sort of...
I'm anti P bass.
Yeah, I don't play it anymore. I got a Greco Rickenbacker copy, which I love,
I love the
definitely difficult to play, but feels awesome.
I think the problem with P bass is I think they feel good to play, but I don't like the sound.
Mm-hmm. It's very...
When it's DI'd, it's very... Like there's a very particular P bass sound, but I think in the 60s and 70s when it was, it became a legendary bass, usually that was because it was going through an amp.
Yes.
And so a lot of the shitty P bass sound, it's filtered out through the amp.
That's a very common thing these days as well. So many sessions that I do, we're never plugging the bass into a bass amp. It's always just straight in.
Well, You should be plugging it into a guitar amp.
Okay.
That's much better, if you've got a P bass.
I was playing a proper Hofner the other day.
Wow.
It felt amazing. I've got the cheap one, the $400 sort of reissue one, but there's nothing quite like the real deal. I say that though, but then we were talking. There's that. Is it NAMM, this music conference thing that people have been telling me about that I knew nothing about?
Yeah.
And
it's on right now. How did you not?
I'd never heard of it
about
before.
That?
They said, "Are you going to NAMM?" Like, what do you mean? Like going to record an album, is that sort of difficult? No, it's not like going to NAMM, but that's what they were talking about. But that idea of gear sort of becoming more the focus rather than the music or the art seems quite silly to me.
It's a big topic, and we can talk about it.
Sure.
if
Thoughts, Shags?
Well, I mean, we're living in a retro revisionist era right now. It's the best era for retro revisionism, because we have access to everything. So people are learning more about things. They can learn what it was they like about something more and more than we ever have been able to before. And then pretty soon you just get hooked on the thrill of all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Just like you just become a gearhead. It's like, wow, such and such used this on that song that I loved. And then if you're a real dork, then you're going to try and buy that gear. And then once you start buying the gear, it's over. And then things like NAMM start happening. So, but I'm like that. I mean, I'm not really a gear.
I don't think of you as a gearhead, no.
I'm not. But back in Australia, I've got over 30 synths.
How many? Do you use all of them all the time? Or some of them you could probably get rid of?
Well, back then, no, I was, really. There was one of my bands, the Small Goods. Every time we made a new album, I'd have a different array of synths. And so as the band progressed for live, I would be just carrying more and more synths to gigs, to a point where I was carrying 4 large synths to every gig.
And this is traveling with them through the country as well?
Yeah.
Were they getting beaten up? And
Yeah, definitely. But some of them were Korg, and Korg can take it.
Korg can take
Korg,
it.
they're the toughest synths ever made. Have you seen someone throw an MS-20 off stage?
No.
Well, I have. And I saw him grab it and then plug it back in, keep on playing.
Whoa.
MS-20 is probably the toughest synth ever made.
Who was doing that?
A great guy, actually, great musician and a great artist who passed away several years back. Sean South, sorry.
I don't know Sean South.
Sean South, yeah, maybe he was originally from Canberra, because he kind of had that crazy, weird edge that all the Canberra artists have. But yeah, he was a very interesting musician and person. But yeah, he passed away, sadly. But
was he doing this out of a fit of fury on stage? Was it part of a shtick, or what was the deal?
Not like, just in the moment kind of a thing. But he made wild music with no trained musicianship to back it up.
Okay.
Just like wild, out of tune, industrial synth pop. That if he was making it now, he'd probably be a star. An indie minimal synthwave star.
Okay.
But
synthwave star.
Yeah,
minimal indie synthwave star. Okay.
I mean, I guess he was in, student indie Melbourne at the time.
There's definitely those indie Melbourne stars for sure. Every time I go back, there's some new hot thing going on.
There is. Well, it's been 5 years since I've lived there, so I'm out of the loop.
Do you get back very often?
Last time was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
October, November, 2 years ago.
But you just wait for a gig or an album or something, not so much go back to visit?
I guess so, yeah. I've missed the last 3 Christmases, which was the first time I'd ever missed a Christmas. So that's 3 in a row.
Lots of family still there?
Yeah, all my family's still there.
Do they miss you? Do you have a family
big
WhatsApp
time.
that you all stay in touch with each other?
With my mum.
Mm. Ours is extended to our whole family and then some of our cousins as well.
Wow. I mean, I've got a lot of WhatsApp groups just with different groups of friends from Australia.
I know. It feels like the best place to do it.
Mm.
It's funny everyone just adopts these new platforms and that's just the new way to...
Hey, this is a great tea.
Not a bad tea, huh?
This is really good.
I lured you over with promise of a good tea.
Well, as soon as you said I'll put the kettle on, it's like, all right, you got me.
I don't feel like you hear that in LA as much, do you? It's all coffee.
No. Well, you know, I've never had a coffee.
You've not had many of the naughty things, though, have you?
That's true.
Not even tried them at all, just never bothered getting around to it? Or did have a bad experience and then never went back, or what?
No, it's more like it was because of illness when I was a teenager.
Okay.
I was really sick when I was a teenager, and I kind of missed starting a lot of things that normal kids will do. So I missed starting drinking and taking drugs, and I missed getting my learner's permit, and I just missed doing a lot of stuff. I still don't have a driver's license for this very reason. Right. But I eventually got my learners. But I was in Melbourne, so I never needed a license.
You don't
you
need
got trams.
You can get about.
You got trams, and now in LA you got Uber.
So you're just Ubering everywhere.
Yeah. Or I've got a rule: I either walk, ride, or Uber. Ride my bike, that is.
Mm.
And where I live, Highland Park, you can ride around everywhere, pretty easy.
You sort of just find your neighbourhood here, don't you? And
yeah, I ride to Chinatown every second day or so for pho.
So you're keeping quite fit.
Yeah, I've always stayed active.
Would you call that a hobby? Does bike riding count as a hobby?
No.
Because I ask a lot of people what their hobbies outside of music are. Not many have them, to be honest.
I'm not going to call it a hobby because it's what I use to get around, but I enjoy it a lot.
I think a hobby has to kind of be a little bit useless, doesn't it? And
it's useless, and it's something you make an effort to do.
Yes. And you enjoy it purely just for that. It's not really getting you anywhere.
Yeah, I think that sums it up.
Because I've been swimming, but I wouldn't call it a hobby.
What are you doing it for?
Exercise, really.
So why is that not a hobby? Because it's not useless enough.
No, not at all. And I don't do it out of joy. It's more out of necessity. Because as I'm getting older, my body is just falling more and more apart. Are you getting into yoga while you're here? You doing that stuff?
Hell no. No way. No, I've never done yoga.
Why hell no?
Because I don't need to. And I'm not going to subscribe to the culture because that's what the culture is.
They're definitely into it. They take it very seriously.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I just don't need to do it. I did a thing called Yogi Nidra once, which was a type of meditation.
Okay.
I laid down on a mat in my friend's band Bong Shed, and he played a cassette tape of a guru just telling you what parts of your body to focus on and how to breathe, how long for. And that goes for about 40 minutes, and then you feel like you've just got, 4 or 5 hours extra sleep. It was great.
I like it. I
recommend Yogi Nidra. I've only ever done it once, though.
Just the one? So it's not, you haven't continued to it?
No.
It's just that one time.
I'm just saying, the thing that sounds like yoga was that I had done.
Okay. Back to the sort of drug taking, though. There's a lot of people who...
Or lack of.
Well, yeah, people sort of subscribe to the idea that, the more drugs you take, the freakier your music can become. Or they're like, let's have a smoke before we have the next jam, as if it's going to make them any better.
Well,
but I don't really buy it at all.
Well, no, it's depends on the person, really. Maybe that's what they need to be able to do that.
I think for some people it's a bit of a crutch, though. I've found that anyway. Not obviously for some people it definitely works. I think listening to mixes, stoned, getting a different, maybe, way of hearing, I find can be good. But
Well, it's just putting you in an altered state,
yeah,
which I guess could be a nice feeling. I mean, I think you can get that. You can have that anyway. People get in different moods. People are in different levels of fatigue. Just everything affects how you absorb something or express something.
but do you have something that you do that sort of helps you to switch off or alter your mind state? Or do you not really think about it because you've always been sober, really?
I drink tea. No, look, I don't know. I think I just try and drink a lot of water. I drink tea. I don't know. I just try and stay on top of my game.
Yeah.
And when you're like that, then I don't know. I guess no, I don't. Then I just try and be rational.
That's quite unusual in the music for sometimes, I find.
But it's the music. I mean, the music has those effects on me, not something else. So, yeah, I mean, I can be put into an altered state by, sitting down and listening to a Tangerine Dream record or something like that. In fact, I could probably identify music that does definitely put me into some sort of an altered state.
Hit me.
Whether it's really relaxed or zoned out, dazed, or whatever you want to call it. Hit you with some of those?
Yeah, please.
Okay, Tangerine Dream, Phaedra.
Don't know, Phaedra.
Wow.
But
that's a big influence on the
got
music that I make too.
Okay.
Actually, any album that could have that effect has been a big influence on the music that I make.
Did you discover that one quite early and it's kind of become a thing that you measure stuff by sometimes?
Yeah, somewhat. Going back to when I was really sick as a teenager, the thing that I had to keep me going, to get me through all that kind of stuff was just listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are records from that period that really had an effect that would be inspirational and and affect my art for years to come,
mm-hmm.
because of what they did to me, and that would inspire me to make music that could do that to other people.
Yeah. So would you call that that's something that you always strive to achieve when making albums?
No, you don't try and do it. It's just something that probably will just come out.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
Do you struggle for inspiration and with jamming? No, there's
plenty of inspiration, especially because I'm a pretty crazy record collector. So
yeah,
I've got endless references to pull from. So,
are you using Spotify and there's other platforms? Or
Spotify doesn't really work for me. I've never used it. When it first came out, anything I searched for was never on there.
Yeah.
And
anything a little differently on the obscure side is...
I mean, even things that weren't that obscure to me weren't on there. So I ruled it out a long time ago.
I think it's gotten a bit better now.
Apparently.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work on my phone. So if someone sends me a Spotify link, it just doesn't work. So, I mean, I've never used it.
But so with your record collecting, what do you have it just set up in your house and there's sort of a time that you listen to them? You're popping them on all the time? It's a constant...
I would say there's a pretty consistent flow of records happening when I'm not doing anything, when I'm doing something, when I'm making a record. I guess records kind of govern everything for me.
And the sort of taste is ever evolving, I suppose. You're always on some sort of musical destiny. So I guess it would be a changing the work that you're doing at different times.
Yeah, I guess so. I tend to pick a country and then just explore the music that came out of there.
Yeah.
And I've covered most of the planet up to this
point. Are you good at remembering them years later?
Yeah. Pretty good. And, you know, sometimes you can only just remember a record cover.
Yes. I find my memory for that it's getting a little worse. I kind of hope that it stays in the back of my mind somewhere.
It's changing now with YouTube, because even the most obscure thing is now up on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely way more so than Spotify.
Which is a good thing, I think.
Are you uploading some of these records to YouTube?
No.
Do you give back to the music community in that way?
I guess I have done a little bit, but on Soulseek. Soulseek has been my thing for digital music.
Which one's Soulseek? I don't know that.
It's one of the original ones. It's not as... I don't think it's as old as LimeWire or Napster and those ones. But it's pretty old. Like, it's the reason I never got a Mac computer, because Mac could never do Soulseek properly. They tried to, and they got it working at a point, but what you could download was very, very small. I think they may have worked it out now. But, yeah, like huge file sharing database.
People are just... And with records, I guess people are putting the time into uploading them.
There's a lot of stuff on there. Like, I would find a record and it's like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like, who made this? And you find some other names, get on Discogs, start looking at, what else these other people had done, and then you'll come across a record that's really, really rare. It's like, fuck, there's no way I can afford to get that, if I can even find that. Get on Soulseek. Here's the thing that there was, 40 cassettes made, and someone has uploaded it.
Very cool. This almost sounds like a hobby, but I guess the fact that you're using those references for your music production and
it is a hobby. It is a hobby, but it's the way of life.
It's not quite useless enough.
Yeah, not useless enough for a hobby. It's the way of life.
And you just started a record label, Baby Race?
True.
Yeah, I listened to it's Joe McKee, that's right?
It's the Joe McKee record.
And you produced and did all of that? Sounded great.
No, not so much with that one.
Okay.
What I did, if you just want to get technical on that one, I just mastered it and played on it.
Okay.
So I played, I think most of the songs, the synth. There was not everyone. I think Joe played some Juno on it. So...
Sounds really pretty. I like his voice a lot as well.
Yep, great voice. Great, very interesting songs. But I mastered it, but in mastering it, I was actually able to do a lot with the mix.
Sure.
So when I got the mix, it was very, very bassy and extremely reverby. And I've kind of got a measurement for how reverby a record should be. If it's wetter than Dark Side of the Moon, then it's too wet. And this was 3 times as wet as Dark Side of the Moon.
But you could change that in the master?
In the mastering, I could, because he gave me the voice and
like a stem master sort of thing.
The voice and the music separate.
Right.
So within the music, I could affect just the sides. I don't know if you know what mid-side processing is. Like, anything that is mono is considered the mid, and anything that is the sides is the things that are just in the stereo image. Mm-hmm. And so you can separate those. And so what I would do to get rid of the reverb, I would roll off all the bass in the sides, because it was a really bassy reverb, and it was just taking over everything.
And that's because he was engineering it and maybe didn't quite
He was
know
working,
as much what he was doing?
Well, he was working with another guy, and I guess when you're working really fast, you're trying to finish something, you get in the zone, you lose perspective.
Of
And
course.
depending on the monitoring, it probably sounded fine where they were. But in the real world, it was just 3 times as bassy as Dark Side of the Moon, which is bassy and wet. And so I was able to fix that stuff. I was able to treat the vocal separately, and then what I could do, I actually wrapped the music around the vocal.
Right.
So just with mastering tricks, I was able to put the voice in the center and have the music feel like it was circled around the voice and the guitar. And that's what I did on that one. So it's a little bit more than just mastering. It is mastering, but it's also mixing and producing in a way.
Well, yeah, when did all that... Were you always kind of involved with mixing and producing, or started off as a player and then...
Yeah, I started as a player, but then when you're in bands, you're just involved in that sort of stuff.
A lot of it's just out of necessity, I've found. I mean, even...
Yeah.
Becoming, a half-decent bass player has been out of necessity. Now I play piano just because I kind of had to, because no one else was around to do it.
Right. Well, I guess in my early bands, which is around sort of early and mid-2000s, you kind of have to get a record deal to get into a proper studio.
That was the
back
case.
then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like now, where you just get a computer and you can make a record easy. Like back then, if you didn't get a record deal and can go into a studio, then you would have to use a 4-track or something like that. And so, yeah, you're not getting a record deal, so you're making it on a 4-track or whatever you can get your hands on.
Definitely.
And so you just learn a lot. You just learn how to make records, DIY style. And so I think I kind of had a knack for mixing, I suppose, and producing intuitively for whatever reason. I don't know why. I think because before I was doing music, I did fine arts painting.
Okay.
So, yeah, I went to RMIT in Melbourne. I got my honours in fine arts painting. And within that course, I did other things like film studies, film editing, animation, these kind of extracurricular subjects that gave me the editing skills that once music editing software came in, I was like, oh, this is I've already done this. This is easy for me. And I guess the instincts I had in terms of production and mixing probably just came from the record collecting. Mm-hmm.
So
I just listened to so much stuff that once the technical side of things caught up, and I could execute the how do I say it? Well, the sounds that I knew from other records. Like once I could execute them myself, then I was away.
Are you still looking back on 2 or 3 years ago and going, damn, like I've learned so much even since then? And
definitely, I've learned a lot in that time. Like when I moved to America to tour with Ariel Pink, we toured non-stop for a year, and then there was nothing planned. So I just focused on being able to mix and produce a record all myself with my setup, whatever my setup was going to be. Sure. And that was just going to be my bedroom and my laptop and a set of Oratones speakers, the little small 60s
I think I've seen
Michael Jackson Thriller speakers.
Mm.
And I just worked on that. I got the plugins I needed, and I just...
People helping you out?
No, I would just get tracks that I thought sounded good, and I would listen and study and worked out how they were put together. Okay. In terms of, like, for instance, I would cut up the frequency spectrum, and I would just listen to certain areas, like 200 to 500. And I was like, okay, so there's bass in there, but the guitar actually isn't in there. The guitar's rolled off before it gets to there. That's interesting. I would hear there's like a little bit of the voice in there, and then you listen from 500 to 1K, and it's like, holy shit, everything is in there. Almost everything. There's no cymbals or hi-hats. And then you study 1K to 5,000 hertz, and it's like, everything in the song is in this area. And when I started looking at songs this way, I was learning how to mix properly. And so I just went deep on that side of things.
Have you always had that sort of pragmatic, inquisitive way of approaching everything?
Yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, I'd been mixing and producing for a while before I kind of went down this road. And the first album I mixed was the Drug Dealer record, the first Drug Dealer record. And maybe I'd done the Krakatoa record, the second Krakatoa record at that point. But anyway, that's what I'd been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. I started.
Well, I remember when I saw you at Luke's wedding, I think you were telling me more and more about getting into the mixing side of things. And
over the last year and a bit, or actually also in that time frame, I've been studying mastering a lot more.
And studying, again, just on your own, sort of through your own...
Yep.
YouTube videos, tutorials?
A little bit. The thing with YouTube tutorials is if the music's bad, no matter what they're saying, I switch it off.
It usually is as well.
Yeah, it usually is.
That
it's
goes back to
if this music is bad,
again.
I can't trust what the fuck these guys are saying because it doesn't matter because the music is shit.
I was talking to Miami Horror Ben about that, and he was just saying the exact same thing with some of these plug-in videos and just playing the worst kind of dubstep or whatever.
I switch it off.
How can I trust these guys?
You cannot.
No, not at all.
No, but you can find good guys. So what I do, I study. I just study mix engineers and masters that have
just go listen to their records.
Well, their records, and just to hear them talk, you learn a lot from that. They can be talking about anything, and you can actually learn a lot. They can be talking about how they conduct their day, what they do first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. You know, all these things add up to being a good mixer or a good masterer.
Yeah, it's very true.
And so
the psychology behind it a lot of the times sort of more important than the actual technical
elements.
And
I get a lot from all that. And so one thing I do when I mix is I have a lot of reference tracks, which is key to maintaining your perspective while you're doing that stuff.
Of course.
And, you know, just over time I've sort of accumulated my reference tracks of choice. And the funny thing is, when you go in and find out who actually mixed some of these songs and mastered these songs, it ends up being a lot of the same people.
So you're gravitating towards it.
There's like a certain sound or a certain thing. It's like, why is that good? It's because this guy who did it was great at it. And so I've got favorite mixers and masters and stuff from throughout history now. And so I go and find interviews when they're just talking, and you just learn a lot.
Well, now everyone can listen to you talk, Shags, and understand your process.
Well, it depends how popular your podcast is.
It's doing okay. It's like I was saying before, tough competition. Yeah. There's so many now.
No, it's good. I mean, I've become a real podcast guy.
Yeah, it's great to just like for all the reasons that you're talking about, just to sort of. I mean, it's the same with this. I don't like to get too specific or too nerdy or anything. It's actually just to get someone's opinion on everything, or how they conduct their day or their life, or just how to exist.
Because that's interesting.
Yeah, that's what sort of leads you to understand why they're doing what they do. Are you wanting to do? You know, is it mixing and mastering what you're kind of wanting to get into more?
I just want to get into whatever I want to get into at the time.
Yes.
So now, that's kind of just what I've been doing. I'd been trying to play live less, just because I'd done it. You know, I've done a lot of touring, and
You still enjoy playing shows though? Or?
yeah, definitely. I don't like playing them for not very much money.
Mm-hmm.
It depends what it is.
A lot.
I mean, you know, when you're younger and the currency is fun and experience, then that's all well and good. But once you've got those things, then, you know, I just want to do something different. I don't like retracing my steps,
Mm-hmm.
just in anything, unless I'm doing it for either a nostalgic reason or, yeah, it's probably usually just a nostalgic reason. I'll do that.
Have you got your own project that you're really into, or
No, I kind of wish I did, and I have in the past, but at the moment I'm more of a free agent drifter,
is
I
there
guess.
something bubbling away though?
Oh, I've got a lot of semi worked on things that are my own and that I'm passionate about. I guess the main thing I'm doing at the moment is drug dealer for this new record.
Does it feel like you're a sort of major part of it, like it's yours?
Oh yeah,
or?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it is. I think Michael was even telling people, he's like, oh, actually, it's kind of a duo with me and Shags.
Yeah, sure.
But we have a good band, like a tight group of people, and everyone worked on the record. Like I was saying earlier, the takes were band takes. So Michael would write kind of like, he would kind of just like write ballads.
Okay.
I think every song he writes is kind of like a ballad.
Is there a reason for that? Because he approaches one instrument, or he sits at the piano?
Yeah, he sits at the piano, but sometimes he does it on guitar. But it seems like there's just a way he writes the song,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just ballad style. It's like Beach Boys ballad or something.
It's a very comfortable and easy way to write. And
Yeah.
you can just manipulate it in so
Yeah,
many
and
other ways.
We'll just get together with the band. It's like, here, I wrote this song. Sometimes he'll have an idea of what he wants to happen, but then other times we'll just play.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually pretty quickly we have a finished band song. So we just went in and recorded them like that.
It's so refreshing to make music like that these days, where you actually just show everyone the song. Everyone's a professional and knows the vibe, and then you can just go in and record it.
Well, that's key. The group of people we got together, where we're all friends.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of chemistry, so things are easy and happen very quickly.
It seems like that mentality has become a little bit lost in this modern
Probably.
music making age.
Probably. Maybe in certain parts of the world.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that, you know, when we were still in Melbourne, there was a lot of bands.
Definitely.
And I remember when Ariel would come to Melbourne, a place that he actually really, really loves, he thought about moving there a couple of times. But it was surprising to hear him say it, but he's just like, yeah, he would tell other people about the music scene there, and he would say things like, yeah, in Melbourne they have bands.
They still do as well.
Yeah.
There's definitely
It's
lots
like,
of them
you know,
still
friends
going on.
get together and they have bands. I'm just like, right, I didn't think about that. We do, but it's just because we do. I don't know. What other options are there? You can go out and play all the time. I guess it's not the same in other cities. Sydney's different because a lot of people...
It's just not even the venues really for
There's
it
not
anymore,
the
I don't think.
venues.
No.
And there'd been periods where maybe there was, but it was always teetering on the edge of shutting down for whatever reasons, even like early, mid-2000s. Can you remember the Hopetown?
Mm-hmm.
That shut down. That was a big deal because that was like really the center of the kind of the indie music scene up there.
They're gone now.
And so a lot of bands in Sydney would kind of just form in their garage, and a lot of the time would get a record deal at their second, third show or whatever, because they've been just practicing, only playing in their garage. They'll make a little EP, send it to Winterman and Goldstein, and then get a record deal, and then you're the next Wolf Mother.
Yeah,
But Melbourne was completely different. Like you just play around the scene, go nowhere ever, and then that's it.
Yeah, I had so many bands for so many years just doing that, and then finally sort of found myself in Miami Horror, and it was starting to do okay. Like, all right, let's stick around for a little while. This is actually getting me out of Melbourne, and it was quite exhilarating.
Which is pretty difficult to do.
Yeah, I know.
If you're an artist or a musician of any sort in Australia and of course Melbourne, it's very difficult to leave. And
a lot of Australians
we did it.
coming here now, though, isn't there?
We did it.
Yeah, we made it. But I think I'm going
out.
back for a little while. But I can't escape this city. It's just...
LA's a great place to come back to.
Yeah, I do like it a lot.
There are things about it I don't like,
of course,
but it's got something.
No plans to leave at this point.
Not at this point. No, I got my next visa, so I'm around for the next little while. I had a plan if I didn't get my visa.
Okay.
But I got my visa. I was going to move to Lisbon.
That's the new place everyone's going to.
They are?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's quite reached
Berlin stage yet.
Yeah, not yet.
It might though, because it's
I'd say it definitely will, but I've met a lot of artists and producers that are starting to go there now as well.
Yeah, I was trying to jump the gun on all that, but I got my visa, so oh well.
Are people already leaving from LA? I think they are. They're going to Lisbon. I've noticed.
Who's going?
I've heard a few people just mention it to me over the last 6 months because I didn't even know that was an option. But guy that works with Jamie Liddell, this guy Mocky, I don't know him, but I just heard him interview.
Musician or a DJ?
Songwriter, producer, I think.
Right.
I guess it's just anywhere where artists are going and it's cheaper. They're always going to...
But it's already going up there.
Okay.
When I first went there, 2015, I was just like, wow, I didn't know that there was a place so fucking cool and so fucking cheap with such good food and good good beaches.
Does it just... the time span of
good
these...
people, too.
I wonder if now that we can all communicate so quickly, now everyone's starting to hear about Lisbon and it will happen way quicker than it has with any of the other cities.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I think Mexico City and Lisbon are probably...
I've put my money on Mexico City as well, I agree.
They're going to be more little... They're already cultural hubs, but it'll just keep expanding.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen everywhere in the world as more people are born and grow and do stuff.
Were you playing in Lisbon?
Yeah.
Who were you playing with?
Probably went there maybe 3 times in 2015 with Ariel Pink.
Okay.
On that tour.
You're not doing those, so not playing with that anymore, though? It's just the drug dealer thing more now?
Yeah. So Ariel, he changed the band at some point, kind of like the end of 2016, just got a smaller band. And then I think since then he's got an even smaller band.
Okay.
And...
To save cash?
I guess so.
It does happen.
I guess
it has been happening. The same thing that you're talking about of when the currency was fun, but now, I mean, how many records has he made? He's been doing it for quite some time.
A lot.
It makes sense that you want to actually start making a bit more
Yeah, but
money.
for him, like he doesn't want to play live in general. Every tour he does, he's just like, I actually don't want to play live anymore. Even if the tour is good, I think it just comes back to the fact that he's done it, and it didn't grow in the sense that every time he toured, it's the same circuit and the same venues again, the same festivals. Mm-hmm. And I guess you've got to change the music that you make for it to grow.
Yeah,
for him, for that kind of music.
Yeah.
It's like how big...
So you can just keep making records and stay at the same size without needing... I mean, I guess it's just financial though, isn't it, really? That's the main reason most people are touring these days. And to grow it, obviously, like you're saying. But you do need to write the smash hit that's going to help you have the big crossover.
The crossover hit.
Where's the crossover hit?
We're all going for the crossover hit.
Have you had any crossover hits over the years?
I don't really think so.
Have you been in any of those sorts of writing sessions while you've been in LA?
No, I try and avoid that kind of a scene. When I first got here, I was sort of in that world a little bit. I was doing more session work and things like that. But, I just decided to hunker down and just work on becoming a master of free plugins and getting good at mixing. I mean, I could go and do that stuff. There was a little while where it's like, oh, hey, Shags, we need some synth at a studio in Hollywood. Can you come? It's like, when? Now? Oh, yeah. Sometimes it's like, yeah, okay. Sometimes it's no. But I don't know. I'm pretty happy sticking around Highland Park and just mixing records.
Keeping it neighbourly.
Yeah.
What's the plan for the record label?
For Baby Race? Okay, Baby Race has got a lot of things coming up, actually. We're going to be putting out a bunch of records this year. And so the record label's me and Joe. So because we both worked on Joe's record, it got to the end of that. And we started shopping it around, I guess, as you say.
That's what they say. It's not a fun part of the process.
To find a label. And Joe,
the label,
way less than me, he was less down than I was, far less down. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've got some connections at these labels, and we can send it over, see what they say. And he's like, yep, cool. And it was less than a week of doing that. He's just like, no, I can't be asked with this.
I get it.
Let's just put it out ourselves. And I was like, actually, you know what? That sounds like a fun idea. So we just started planning to release it ourselves. And, I've got a lot of records pressed at GZ Media in the Czech Republic, sometimes through Pirates Press, which is like a little office they've got in San Fran. I think they're the best quality records on the planet. And so I hit them up and we got it pressed. And we're trying to think of a name for the label. We're coming up with all kinds of things, none of which I can remember now, which means they weren't memorable at all. And we were watching basketball, which we would do together a lot. And during halftime for one of the games, the entertainment was a baby race. And I'm talking to Joe while it's halftime because we're watching the game and just talking as we're watching it.
Talk me through that.
I'm watching the screen, and people are putting babies on the court, and having another parent at the other end.
And what, they're crawling along the floor.
Just saying, come on, Tito, come on, Margaret, come on. And the baby that gets there first wins the race. And I just said, Baby Race Records. and we were just like, yep, that's it. And so we've just got a lot of friends who make music.
Of course, yeah.
And we can have some fun and try and put out some records. We've got a lot of connections between us. I mean, I've put out a lot of records and he's put out a lot of records. His previous band was a band called Snowman. Can you remember Snowman?
Sounds very familiar.
I think they were big for a while. They were like a Triple J band. They lived in Europe, lived in the UK.
What were they? Were they a rock band of sorts?
It was crazy rock. It was kind of like emo rock. Okay. It was when emo was big, but they were like emo prog or something. So Joe would just sing really high above the music. This crazy fucking polyrhythmic crazy rock music. Yeah, they were a real hoot. So yeah, his record's a lot different now. His music's a lot different now.
I like what I'm hearing now.
Yeah.
No comment on Snowman. I can't remember at all.
Yep.
It's funny that transition though that people make from a band that they might sort of feel embarrassed about or something. I don't know, but we've all done it. Everyone's been, and I think that's what happens a lot with the democracy of a band as well. When there's 4 or 5 of you, you just end up going along with where no one's kind of loving it. This is not aimed at Snowman again. It's just a very common thing.
It's like one guy is making. He's bringing the folk element to the to the psycho.
Then there's the hip hop guy.
Yeah, polyrhythmic rock band, and then when he goes solo, obviously he makes a folk record. So yeah, between us we could just pool our connections and things, and have some fun and have a record label.
So it's just the beginning of it.
It's very much just the beginning. We've got BR001 as the only record on the catalogue right now, but very shortly will be BR002 and 3 coming out next 3 to 4 months. There'll be some stuff coming out.
What are the releases?
So BR002 is a band from Groningen in the Netherlands, and they're a little duo.
They're friends of yours?
Well, yeah, they're friends of mine. But I met them on tour. One time I was stranded in Amsterdam. It's a whole nother story. My passport visa had been stolen. I thought I was going to be living in Europe from that point on. I eventually found it. It's quite a story. And I started looking for gigs one time. I just had my synth, so I thought, well, if I'm here, I'll just do solo synth gigs. And someone connected me to some people in Groningen, and they were doing some festival. They were calling it Euro Money because there's a huge festival up there called Eurosonic, and they run like this little DIY festival at the same time, which is really cool. And yeah, they said we'll give you 75 euros if you come up and play. And I was like, all right, that sounds like fun. So I went up and played, and I met all the kids in the scene up there. Super cool kids, making very specific type of kind of ambient electronic music, and just maintained friendship. And eventually this duo called Oslo, OHSLO, hit me up, and I was like, oh, we've just made this record, it's a long shot, but do you know any labels out there that might want to put it out? And I listened to it, and it's pretty good. And I'm thinking, Leaving Records, this would suit. I think I sent it to Matthew David at Leaving, and I never got a reply. And maybe I sent it to another thing. And then around that time, Joe and I had decided to start Baby Race. So I said, there's some I can send it to, but you know what? I just started a record label. Can't really offer you much. I can offer you a record label in America, which is something that you don't have, being in a small town in Europe. And they were just like, wow, this sounds cool. And we just started the collaboration from there.
It must be nice to actually finally have a platform to and especially if you can build it into something. Because, we do. We've so many friends who have made great albums over the years, and everyone's kind of playing that label game, waiting for those fucking emails to come back and then have them tell you, oh, it sounds good. Have you got any more?
Yeah, it's funny, but I can... Oh, I guess I'll finish what I was talking about. So there's that, and I didn't act as a producer or a mixer with these guys because they were kind of on their way and sounding good, but I did help out just with my opinion on that kind of stuff. And I actually went up to Groningen one time. I was in Europe, and I helped them just for a night, sort of finalize some mixing and stuff like that. And they would send me stuff, and I would tell them what I think they should do. But that was enough involvement for me to feel like I was part of the record, which I think to put something out on my label probably need to have. I mean, someone could just make a great record and I could put it out, but
Yeah.
But it's really nice when you're that little bit extra invested in it, because no one's really going to make any money. Full stop. Yeah, no one's going to really make any money. So, you know, if
sadly true, if pretty much true.
If it's all about the passion of it, and it's all about the music, blah blah blah, then
yeah, you got some ownership over it a little more. If you
it feels good to do it. And I guess I never, like, it always made sense that I would have a record label or something, because I'm such a record nut myself, and I make music. But at the same time, I'm fully aware of how much work it is to do that. And
a lot of admin.
It's a lot of admin. And Joe is very good at admin.
Okay.
Joe is very good at it.
It's extremely handy.
So he can handle that. I'll just work with the bands.
Sounds like a great dynamic.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's the thing. We're just good friends. We have good chemistry, and this is just a good little thing for us to be able to do together.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Like, have you ever had that? You meet someone, you have a great friendship, a great chemistry, and you kind of think, hey, we should start a business together.
Yeah, I feel like every band I've ever been in.
It's like bands. Like,
yeah.
Hey, we get on. We should have a band together. And I guess people who don't do music probably meet and just want to try and find an excuse to hang out with someone a lot more.
Yeah, the people, my closest friends, for the most part, I work with them in some capacity, because it's just a way to actually get to hang out more.
Yep, for sure.
Whatever it may be.
Yep. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. I am BR003 will be the final Pikelet record.
Ah, she's very good, isn't she?
Evelyn Morris.
Yes.
My old best friend and collaborator. And so,
she's hanging up her hat, hanging up her apron, if it's Pikelet.
We've been working towards getting that ready to release, and that's something we're going to do as well.
That wasn't a sexist joke, by the way. It was to do with making Pikelets. I've got to be
because
very sensitive these days.
You're a Kiwi, so that's where Pikelets come from.
Yeah, it's a small pancake.
It's a small pancake, but it's a Kiwi thing.
I think so. Is it?
It
is she from New Zealand?
No.
Okay.
But has spent a lot of time there.
Yes.
In
Newtown at the pizza shop.
We've gone there together as Pikelet. Like, Pikelet has played... We played 2 Campelohums, as a matter of fact.
Those things are really fun.
Wait. No, we did one Pikelet one, and then I went the next year with other bands. I went with Pets with Pets and Coconuts, which I had mentioned to you before we hit record.
I wonder... I was there with Luke Bench and I's band. What was his band?
What year?
I got no idea, man. I can't remember. It may have been the first one.
That was a really small one, right?
I guess so, yeah.
I think the first one was really, really small.
Maybe it was the second one.
Right.
I don't want to be telling you lies. Liam Finn was there.
Okay.
Luke and I don't really remember.
Well, I don't know how many he went to, but the first one I went to, he was there, and then Neil showed up on the Saturday night and was the secret guest.
Neil wasn't at the one that I was at, no.
And Neil, Liam, Elroy played split end songs and crowded house songs, and it was fucking awesome.
I believe that.
It was unreal. Wow.
That festival was a lot of fun. I haven't been to anything
I think
like it since.
No,
really.
I think it was easily the best festival I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And probably the most, at the time, it was the most fun I've ever had in my life. The 2 consecutive Campelohums. First one, that's the most fun I've ever had in my life. Got topped the next year, and then...
And nothing's been that fun since.
No, it did get beat. I think when me, Kieran J. Callan, and Daniel Stricker decided to make up a band just to tour Japan, that was the most fun I've ever had.
When was that?
That was 2012.
It's a great idea.
And
you pulled it off.
Yep, we did. And it's like what I was just saying, you meet people, and it's like, what can we do to hang out? And so me, Kieran, and Stricker had started becoming close buddies, and it was an interesting connection because we started just connecting Sydney and Melbourne more because there was always a Sydney-Melbourne rivalry.
Wee bit, yes.
And so we started breaking down the barriers for that because I would go up to Sydney and just hang out there, and we would just do improv shows and whatever, and they would come down and we would get together and do improv shows. And there was a point where me, Stricker, and Kieran were driving around. It's like in this area near the MCG where you can't get to. There's like a little gap, and we drove Stricker's little MG or his Jag or whatever the hell he had. We got through this gap and we're just driving around this area that you're not meant to be. And we're just having the best time. And I said, guys, because I'd been to Japan a couple of times already, I said, we need to go to Japan together.
You planted the seed.
And then we just made up a band. We just invented a band.
What was the band called?
The Triforce.
The Triforce. Of course it was.
So we made up the Triforce and we wrote a story and a spiel about our powers. Like Kieran was strength. And we had a big spiel about strength. I think I was wisdom. And, Stricker was something else. And we wrote this huge bio and a blurb. And I already had some connections over there, venues I knew I could contact. And we just started sending it to venues in Japan.
That is awesome.
And we never played a gig, and we didn't play a gig until we got to Japan. And we just did improv shows as the Triforce.
It's funny, you just have to sort of make shit up and make it happen, really, to get it done, don't you?
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Just jump into the fire.
Yeah, because you can wait around and make all these sort of fictitious plans that are never going to happen. But if you just do it...
Yeah, there's a lot of fantasy. And fantasy is fun. You can just come up with ideas and things and laugh about it. But just fucking do it. Just jump into the fire.
I'm very impressed by that.
So that was fun. That was...
Yeah,
there was actually a particular point. We went to Naoshima, which is a small island in between Osaka and Hiroshima. You catch the Shinkansen about halfway, and you get on a country train, and you head directly south to the coast. Then you get on a ferry, and you go to Naoshima. And Naoshima is also known as Art Island. And it's this cute little island, maybe... God, it's got to be maximum 5K wide diameter. And there's a tiny town there of maybe 2,000 people, but the rest of the island is like little farms and art galleries. Like this big art company had bought it and just turned it, the whole island, into an art piece, basically. There's just sculptures everywhere, there's installations all over the island. There's galleries. It's absolutely wild. You've really never been anywhere quite like it.
Yeah, I thought Mona was cool in Tasmania.
See, Mona's on that level, but this is a whole island.
Yeah.
Mona is unbelievable, but so is this place. This place is incredible. And so you get in on the ferry, and immediately there's motorized bikes, which was the first time I'd seen them. This is like 2012. And you just get on motorized bikes and you ride around Art Island and you have the best time you've ever had in your life.
It is those, yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, we were
unbelievable.
We were Singapore for a show earlier this year with Miami Horror, and we went and got the scooters, and it was one of the greatest times of my life as well. It is, it's something about touring and having your close gang and your friends, and then just...
in a completely exotic place.
Yeah, going on those adventures.
Yeah.
I guess that's what's great about music, is it just... you get the opportunity to be in so many places you'd probably never end up otherwise.
It is, and that's another thing, as I was saying before, the fun and adventure is kind of like your pay for touring. If it's a break-even tour.
one question I like to ask to sort of get a little bit of an insight into a guest's countenance is whether they're optimistic or pessimistic about the future of humanity.
Well, that's a big question, isn't it?
It is.
I'm both. I'm optimistic because I think things in the world today are probably at the best place they've ever been in history. There's obviously a lot of work to do.
Yes.
But in a lot of areas we're getting smarter and smarter and more efficient, and in general I'm pretty positive. I kind of just conduct my life with a lot of positivity. I don't take sides really ever. I mean, unless it's completely necessary. But I always just look at everything evenly. And, I could get more specific if you actually had a more specific type of subject there. But I'm pessimistic for humanity because the potential to fuck everything up is very, very high.
Yeah, that's kind of
very
it.
high.
Just takes a few
And
rotten eggs.
I'm expecting it to go that way. So...
Yeah, we're in the before times now. I wonder if we're going to make it to the after times.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see... I remember one of my art lecturers said we were gonna see a paradigm shift in our lifetime, and I agree that we will. And I think it's going to happen. In some ways, it's going to be a steady transition, but in other ways, it's going to happen very, very, very quickly. And you can kind of see things in history, recent history, that have happened very, very quickly. Like the obvious effect of computers in our lives, and what our phones have done, and the internet. And you think, can you remember before the internet?
I was thinking about it while I was laying in bed this morning. First time I thought about it in ages, because my phone wakes me up. That's my alarm, and it's immediately there, and there's messages there, and I will check them. I would like to not to, but I sometimes find it gets me stressed and gets my brain going, so that I force myself out of bed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was thinking about it before that was there, and you would just get up, and that was it. It was your family or whatever, when whoever you lived with, and then you would go off and you would go to school and talk to them, and then you'd watch the telly, listen to some music maybe, but no communication with anything or anybody outside of that. You call your friend from high school maybe on the phone.
In some ways it was completely different, but in some ways it was exactly the same.
Well, yeah, humans don't really change so much in that.
No, so you would still be using a phone quite a lot. If you think back, like, you would just get on the home phone and call your mates a lot. Like, you would just be...
But no one internationally would only be someone from your city.
Yeah.
Like...
Because you didn't know anyone internationally yet.
No, that's true.
No one knew anyone internationally.
No, I suppose kids wouldn't be knowing anyone internationally, right? They're just talking to their high school friends because they haven't travelled much.
And computers... phones have kind of replaced the tally. So you would spend a shitload of time watching the tally.
I would, yeah.
And now you still do that effectively. You do it on YouTube and just on your computer, like downloading a TV series or whatever. So all that stuff is really still the same.
You would just only have a small handful of people that would be famous that you would kind of be able to look up to. So it was your favorite band's new record or whatever, but now I guess you can...
Now you know everything about them.
Yeah, and you can see how many followers people have and how famous they are, and even just how famous your friends are compared to you now. I think that's... I'm noticing so many more people these days saying that they're suffering from anxiety, this condition that didn't really exist as much even 10 years ago to what it's like now.
There was always anxious people.
Of course, yeah.
And it's usually people that were born in the city. Like, I can always usually tell someone who's born in a city or who's born in the country, because I was born in the country, so it's a very, very different type of person. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you don't get a lot of intellectuals born in the country. So people who tend to overanalyze things, usually born in cities. And people who are savants come from the country a lot of the time. But what's that got to do with computers and,
Yes.
and the fate of humanity? Nothing, but it was an interesting little tidbit I just threw in there.
Happy with that.
But yeah, I do reference sometimes like pre-YouTube and post-YouTube world, because it has had a big effect. Like if you, I forget what I was going to say, but there was something I was doing the other day, and I was talking to someone, and I was like, yeah, when you tried to do that pre-YouTube, you couldn't do it. Like now you just blah blah blah. Sorry, I failed. I can't remember what it was.
It's okay. No failure here, Shags.
But yeah, I mean, we were still addicted to things back then. You would play Super Nintendo or N64.
Definitely. I had all those.
The good thing about when I was really young, I had a Commodore 64, and if you load the games on the tape, not on a disk drive, like you would load games on a cassette, and it'd take 5 to 10 minutes to load up a game. So you would have to go outside and do something. You're not just going to sit there and watch the loading screen. So I would go out and throw the boomerang, go for a skate, kick the footy. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it must be hard as a parent trying to... But it would have been even the same with our parents, because we had computer games and they just never had that. They would have gone, oh, you're not reading as much, or you're not going out as much. So
that definitely happened.
Yeah, we've always been worried about the change in technology and the effect it's having on children. But everyone always seems to be okay, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think everyone's doing pretty good.
My pessimism comes in through just the sheer amount of waste that we're creating and the destruction of the planet.
That concerns me.
Oh, because we were just in Bali. We had a Miami Horror DJ set, and I went for a swim, and there was plastic everywhere in the ocean. So every few meters was a burger ring wrapper, mee goreng pack, just plastic from washing, from your deodorant, and everywhere. And it really had a profound effect on me. It made me so sad. And every day we're just more.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people are working on fixing that up, but probably not the right people. So, I'm not sure how bad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how bad things are going to get. Like, is it going to be like? I mean, any one problem that we have now could get out of control. And will it be a priority to fix for the powers that be? I don't know. But everything's probably going to still be fine. I mean, I think humanity will carry on and adapt to whatever.
Just take off to space, man.
To whatever shit happens. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are many ways to talk about this.
Are you going to get on the ship when everyone's leaving?
Noah's Ark.
Leave the planet, yeah. Elon's Ark.
Elon's Ark. I don't know.
There's that new Netflix.
Is that going to happen? See, that might happen in our lifetime.
It could, yeah. I'm not sure. I'd like to think I would go down with the ship, but I don't know why. I mean, do I really need... space terrifies me, and maybe...
Well, do you even need to get on a ship? Like, what's wrong with underground?
Oh, we're going underground. Well, that I would probably do, yeah.
What about in the ocean?
Waterworld. I do like that movie a
but
lot.
like underground, or maybe Waterworld.
That I would do too.
There's
I think
all
just
kinds of
space, I'm not quite too willing.
It depends which is the issue that would take us to that point,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you do next. It would affect what you do next. So, I don't know. That's a very broad topic.
Yeah. I think we've covered most of it. Thank you, Shags. Appreciate him making the time. It was great to have a proper hang and a chat. We've known each other for years, but haven't had one of those one-on-one chats like that. I always enjoy those conversations and getting to know what makes someone tick a lot more. Now, as I mentioned, check out Baby Race Records. I've put a link to the website in the podcast description and a link to the Instagram. Also, check out the new Drug Dealer record. There's a brand new single that was released a few weeks ago called Fools. Very cool. I put a link to the video. You can see Shags on the lead bass in that video. Also put a link to the Easy to Forget video by Drug Dealer featuring Ariel Pink, which Shags is in. Follow him on the gram. Check out Baby Race Records. There's plenty of exciting things happening that he was telling me about after the interview. Some awesome new music. Always very cool stuff. Shags, he doesn't muck about. Yeah, I think that'll do us. That wraps it up for another 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in. More episodes very soon, as per usual. Until then, take care of yourselves. See you later.